One guy who most likely might at least have a clue is Kevin Hassett. He's Council of Economic Advisors Chairman, joining us live from the White House. Great to see you.
It's great to be back, Liz.
I'm really hoping, Kevin, that you can answer some of the questions to the income levels. I know Congress has to come up with these, but what do you have in mind? What is the income limit for something like a 12% tax rate or a 25 or a 35?
You know, hey, Liz, and it's the first time I've been on your show while your tax dollars are paying my salary, right? So it's really great to be over here. But, you know, I think that the president has made it clear that he wants to have a plan that encourages firms to bring the jobs back and that helps America's families by giving them a big tax cut. But he's also very respectful of the legislative process, of the committee rules, about the things that the committee and the Ways and Means Committee needs to do to get the whole ball rolling. And so there have been a bunch of details that they've left that those folks are negotiating amongst themselves and with the budget committees to make sure that they're able to push this through under reconciliation. And so there's a lot of moving parts, but the big objective really of tax cuts and specific rates and everything, it's all been agreed to and set. And so the bones are there and the details are being worked out, you know, according to the normal process.
Well, okay, so we need you to really earn that taxpayer salary right now.
Okay,
Can you at least tell us what President Trump and Congress might consider the top level, the wealthy, the so-called rich? What is rich? What level does rich hit?
Yeah, you know, I think that we could talk about percentages of the income distribution. I think that the middle class, the median income is around, say, 50 to 60. I'm sorry, there's a helicopter going by.
That's okay.
And, yeah,
that's probably Marine One getting the president.
Yeah, that's right. And so, you know, I think that what is rich is in the eye of the beholder. A lot of times in previous tax legislation, people have defined it as $250,000. But I think that the bottom line is that where the bracket lines are drawn is going to be determined by the Ways and Means Committee.
Okay.
And the president's very respectful of that process.
Let me be very clear. In the higher tax states, I would have to say New York, California, New Jersey, that $250,000 barely moves the needle. It really doesn't. You can talk to people who make more than that, and what with school and food for a couple of kids, it's really hard to make ends meet. So to that point, we're already hearing the sound of knives sharpening on the elimination of the ability to deduct state and local taxes. You've got Republican lawmakers in states like New York and New Jersey refusing to sign any plan with that in it. Those are Republicans. Will that be the first component that you anticipate might be rewired or reworked a bit?
You know, I think the president supports 100% the current design. The fact is, if you're going to have a tax reform, then you're going to broaden the base and reduce the rates. And the broadening of the base includes eliminating deductions. The state and local income tax deduction gives a bigger tax benefit to the states that have higher taxes and a lower tax benefit to the states that don't. I think that the president's view is that the federal government needs to be out of that game. The states can set their own tax policy, but we don't need to put our finger on the scale and favor one over the other. And so what the Ways and Means Committee does, you know, it's obviously going to be a work in progress, and the president respects the political process, but he's given clear guidance about that issue and the rates and a number of other things.
Stephen Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, I believe, said today these tax cuts will pay for themselves. I personally believe when you cut the rate on corporations from 30, which 35, not a lot of
35, yeah.
Not a lot of corporations are actually paying that, but some really are, or around 30, down to 20%. You will give them back a lot of money so they can grow. I'm of that belief.
Sure.
However, dynamic scoring of they'll pay for themselves is really a guess. To a lot of people, including former President George Herbert Walker Bush, called it voodoo economics because it's a forecast, it's an anticipation of how people will react, not for sure, if they get that money back in their pockets.
Yeah, you know, there's no question that there's a big academic literature that looks at corporate taxes and what kind of revenue feedback that they generate. And it's completely plausible that this thing, and in fact necessary given the design that's being negotiated, that this thing be revenue neutral on a dynamically scored basis. And I should add that the dynamic scoring model that'll be used by Joint Tax Committee is something that's been used for years and years and years, and it's a pretty conservative model. And I think that one reason why having a conservative model be the referee in such a dispute is that it accounts for the uncertainty that you're talking about, Liz.
Great to see you, Kevin.
Thanks. It's great to be back.
You learned for the couple of minutes you were on, you at least earned that much of the taxpayer's salary. Please come back.
Thanks so much. I obviously will.